Hello, my name's Alan Foom, and today I'm going to talk about how to work better with recruiters, how to help you find a job in a market which could be difficult, could be easy, but to work better with these folks to try to get the best deal for yourself. Now, I'm a volunteer with this organization, Career Springboard Bracknell. We're a charity helping people to work into work, and I'm proud to work with them. We're based in Southern England, in the Thames Valley. So if you are a professional person or a manager or anybody who is looking to find yourself a new job, we're here to help. And our details here are at careerspringboardbracknell.org.uk. Please check us out. We'll be happy to help you. And the contents of this presentation is based on work that I've learned together with some of my colleagues, volunteers. So why do employers use recruiters? Well, recruiters are an intermediary between the candidate who needs a job and an employer who needs a new worker. Several different types of recruitment. I'll go through that a little later, both internal and external in large organizations. Now, the key thing to bear in mind here is that all the recruiters work for the employer. There is no, and that's who pays them. They get paid for placing a candidate into an organization by that organization. Working for the employee as an agent, like Jerry Maguire in the film, that's not legal in the UK. It's different in other jurisdictions, but not here. So why do you use a recruiter? Well, it's legal compliance, complex field. If you don't recruit every day, which anything other than a very large organization doesn't, you'd want a professional to help you with that. So give you some advice on candidates, job descriptions, terms and conditions, etc. Because it's easy to make a mistake if you don't know what you're doing. Some discretion and distance. Particularly if you have to replace somebody in a quiet way, and also outsourcing what some managers see as a bit of a chore. So, and also if you are moving into a new country or a new field, getting some advice from someone who knows what they're doing. So there are different types of recruiter. There are agencies. They tend to work for a whole range of clients, but they're basically based on volume, placing a lot of people at the same time. There could be high street people like Hayes, Adecco, Reed, etc. There could be specialists who focus on particular professions, or boutique focusing at the higher end of the market. You've also got resourcing process outsourcing companies. So this is when a large organization outsources their recruitment to another company. So you could have somebody who has an email address at your company, but they're actually working for another organization. And the so-called headhunters tend to be more boutique, again finding the few, not attracting the many, maybe on a retainer with an organization if they recruit people. But you've got different agencies that use different approaches for specific countries, industries, temporary versus permanent, etc. So just needed to understand who you're dealing with. So where does the recruiter fit in with the client? Now, quite often you will get rung up by recruiters for the same job, 4 or 5 different recruiters in a day. How do you know who's who? Whether they really represent the client, whether they're just chancing their arm, etc. Now, if you know them, if you dealt with them, that could help. But if you don't know them from Adam or Eve, that's a bit difficult. So there are 2 things to bear in mind that are very important. First of all, there's something called the master vendor agreement. So this is the recruiter who's a principal supplier to a company. They're on the supplier list. So they already have a relationship versus somebody who isn't. So always ask, are you on the master vendor list or are you on the preferred supplier list that you have a relationship? Now, some master vendor recruiters will subcontract recruitment to others if they can't handle the volume or if it's a specific area which they don't have expertise in, like a peculiar profession. Other thing to bear in mind is so-called recruiter races. Now, sole source recruitment is actually rare. I can't understand why. If you've got a good relationship with a recruiting company, you can do that. But occasionally, several recruiters may contact you about the same job. It's important to know if they have a bona fide relationship, because the first person that submits your CV wins the right to represent you, and they'll get the commission if you get placed. So again, making sure that you get the right person, if you are in that sort of situation, is important. This is how recruitment works in a large organization. You got the hiring manager. So she decides she needs an engineer. So she talks to the technical function, backwards and forwards, talks to the HR manager, backwards and forwards. They talk to each other. Then they talk to finance to see the budget. What's the budget for the salary? What sort of level of person you want? Have we got, can we do another position, etc. So all this goes around for potentially several months. If they're in a branch office, they have to talk to head office to get their permission. Once all that is sorted out, They go to some poor unfortunate soul HR recruitment coordinator who then talks to recruiters A, B, or C. Sometimes, if you're lucky, it's only recruiter A, but then there may be three or four. And then there's the candidate. The candidate talks via the recruiter to the HR recruitment coordinator, to the HR manager, to the hiring manager. You can see why everything takes a long time, because if somebody's missing, somebody's gone off to a conference, or finance have got year end or month end to deal with, technical function have got some major review going on, things can get slowed down, which is why it can take 6 to 9 months to place somebody. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Needs to be sorted, needs to be done better, but quite often, unfortunately, it isn't. Other thing recruiters have to do is they have to manage quite a complicated set of relationships. So they've got business to candidate. So they need to sell the business to the candidate. So someone rings you up about a job, or you apply for a job, they have to persuade you that they're the company or the organization you really want to join. Then they have to sell the candidate to the business. So you've got a candidate, they look fairly impressive. The recruiter thinks that they'll make a good fit for the business. They need to now sell that person there. But they also need to establish a relationship of trust between the recruiter and the candidate, and establish a relationship between a recruiter and the business. Because again, if they place a good candidate, the business is likely to come back for more business. If the candidate is not the right person for that particular business, but can be right elsewhere, the recruiter needs to keep them in their Rolodex in the database and maintain a relationship with them there. So you can see any one of these can fall over at any hurdle for whatever reason. So it's can be for the recruiter quite an emotionally challenging time. So how are recruiters measured or rewarded? Well, sales and placement. No placement, no revenue. Ultimately, no job. Cost of hire, so the fees, commissions, expenses. Speed of hire, how long does it take to get a bum on a seat? Quality of the hire, where they retain, how they perform in the new role, and the satisfaction of the hiring managers and the selected candidates in the process. Unfortunately, the non-selected candidates may not be in there, but it's how do you manage all of the above. So as you can imagine, it can be quite a high-pressure job with a great deal of competition between recruiters, which is why perhaps you may not get the attention that you feel you need as a candidate. This is a story by one of my colleagues, which I've kind of adapted, which is about potential and current capability. So, hiring manager for zoo asked for an Estonian-speaking, ice-skating leopard. Very precise. Don't know why, but very precise. So, variety of feline candidates showed up. So we got a leopard. They can ice skate, they can roller skate, they speak Lithuanian, Polish. Nah, one Estonian-speaking ice-skating leopard. Tiger showed up. Tiger can ice skate, can snowboard, can speak Estonian and Finnish, but it's not a leopard. Jaguar showed up. It's a big spotty cat. Can you tell the difference between that and that? Not unless you get really up close and personal and you really don't want to be there. But the Jaguar can ice skate, snowboard, roller skate, speak Estonian and Latvian. Nah, one leopard. Lion can ski jump, ice skate, speaks Estonian and Hungarian. Who does not want a lion that can do that? But the hiring manager had a very specific set of requirements. Whether that is wise, they weren't looking at the potential, they just wanted to fix a particular problem which they had. Now, any one of these other cats can probably solve the problem, but the hiring manager had a very specific thing. So that's, to some extent, can be a problem with recruitment. So how do they find a candidate? So a traditional method is you do a job spec, you put your advert on the job boards, you advertise on your own website, hiring organization website if they don't need any discretion, trade press, local press, national press, whatever that requirements may do. For example, the public sector, you have to go to jobs.public.com and you wait for the responses to flood in. And they do, because every Tom, Dick, and Harriet will chance their luck, even though they don't actually meet the requirements, which is why you get 400 or 500 applications for every job, of whom only about 20% actually fit the criteria, because it's very easy to apply. And people will say, well, I meet 70% of the requirements, why not? That's very difficult for formal applications. For networking, that's a little bit easier. So some unfortunate soul has to wade to the CV pile. They'll look at all the keywords, have all the things that are there. Now, the one thing to bear in mind is quite a lot of these people, they're not from your profession, so they may have misunderstandings or anything else, unless they're really quite experienced recruiters. And through it goes, and eventually a relatively small number of people will be presented to the hiring manager for interview. However, the other way of doing it is you focus your efforts, and that's finding the few. So you speak to organization, draft a job spec and agree strategy, and then you'll start searching for your Estonian-speaking ice-skating leopards. So where do you find such a beast? Go through LinkedIn, which is why your LinkedIn profile is so important. Industry societies, conferences, journals, previous candidates in your database and your relationships. So recruiters have been around quite a long time, got good relationships with the people. That's very important. GDPR has to be held in that, so that's a bit of something in there. And then your network, because referrals are worth your weight in gold. So if you are approached by a recruiter and the job is not for you, but you know someone who is, tell them, this isn't right for me, but Sophie or Steve or Sudhir, they're more suitable. Have a chat with them instead. And then once you've found potential people, you might have to persuade the world's right for them. So what you're looking for is a purple squirrel riding a unicorn. As you can imagine, such candidates are not quite rare. So that's a candidate that fully meets specifications, is interested, and actually is available, potentially available. Again, purple squirrels, they're a bit rare. So now we'll come to the difficult thing about recruiters. So these are things that people tend to be angry about, and justifiably in some cases. Well, first of all, there's the sales behavior. Now, recruiters are in a sales business. They're selling you and they're selling the company. They get paid on commission. That's there. They're not here to give you career advice. Career Springboard can do that, by the way. We're there to help. And we run various workshops that be helpful, but that's a sales. Secrecy and cloak and dagger. What happens if the finance director has breast cancer? She's going through treatment. She does not want to be sitting in the surgery, reading the Financial Times and seeing her job advertised, does she? No. Which is why, in case you might have to line up a replacement, you need to do it discreetly. Focusing on a present rather than potential. Well, hiring managers tend to want to solve a present problem. They're Estonian-speaking ice skating leopard. Now, there are more enlightened hiring managers. Maybe the technical director of a company may look at potential rather than just the immediate present that's there. False fake jobs, that's pretty bad. I mean, particularly when you're in a situation where they have an internal candidate and they're looking to, what's the market like? What else is available? We want to promote Jenny, but, Jenny's pretty good, but what else is out there? Lack of response. Well, a recruiter can be working on 30, 40, 50 jobs at a time. So sometimes that's not there. Also, as the diagram we saw earlier about the complicated nature of recruiting in a large organization, she might have to wait a week before somebody replies to her. So the fault might not be with the recruiter, the fault might be with the hiring company because the hiring manager is so overworked or overwhelmed. Impersonal, you're a commodity. Well, I'm afraid that's true. Now, when you begin to establish a relationship with people who've been around for a while, that tends to dissipate. Difficulty in contacting. Why can't we just meet? Well, the scale of people that you deal with is there. Now, there are situations where, like conferences, for example, where recruiters can be met, and I've had some useful chats with people in conferences. Lack of specialist industry knowledge. Well, they don't have PhDs from MIT or Imperial College. So if there's something that's not there, then why not tell them about something? Tell them about the difference between X and Y in your particular field. Challenges and integrity. Unfortunately, that is the case in some people. There are bad ones, as there are in any field and any walk of life. Don't get me started on the complex IT systems. I really don't want to blow a fuse here. And altering CVs. Now, particularly when it's done without your permission, that's again is a bit of a no-no. So what are good candidates? So one of my fellow volunteers, who's a chief recruitment officer for Rentokil Initial, put this together, and I've kind of altered it a little bit. So candidates that are good, they know what they want, they can articulate it, and they're prepared to put in the work. They'll do the sales CV, the cold letter, they'll do the research on organization, and they're honest. They don't exaggerate or lie. Some people do. They're responsive. They sent you an email, they sent you a phone call, you get back to them when they promise. But not aggressive. They don't pester you for a reply every hour and to treat people with respect. Listen as well as talk. Competent, professional, and discreet, and keep confidences. Now, according to Sarah, these people are actually quite rare. Now, I didn't believe it, but that's what she says, and she's got way more experience than I have. So, solutions to better working. Building a relationship. Agree actions and time scale. Ask about the company, the job. Don't assume anything, and use every call. Current job might not be right for you, but the next one might. be honest, don't string people along. Recruitment is a hard, frustrating job, but working together, we can get to a better place. Thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you.